Okay, good evening, everyone. Please confirm I'm audible.
Yes.
Yes, you are.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. So welcome to another week, another series with us. And just like I mentioned the last time, I said something like no much talk, but now we are like doing doings. Let me put it that way. Now it's mostly doing. So we'll be looking at something very interesting and something very simple today. And the topic will be Azure Bastion. In the past weeks, we have looked at how to connect to our virtual machines using the RDP for Windows and the SSH for Linux virtual machines. So today we're looking at a very secure way for connecting into our virtual machines. And this way it prevents your virtual machine from being accessed by these bad actors, hackers, and all you have out there that want to like come into your virtual machine or maybe steal your login or what have you. Okay, so to jump right in, I'll be going over to, I'll be sharing my screen first of all. Please permit me to share my screen. All right, thank you. So please confirm you can see my screen.
Yes, we can. I can see it from my end.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so before I start, I just want to paint like a scenario in our minds. So just imagine you live in a block of flats, okay, and your apartment is inside, but instead of allowing visitors to knock on every door, maybe if they want to come to someone's house, they have to start knocking. Maybe they don't really know the exact house you're in. The building just has one security desk at the entrance. So now, instead of having different doors, there's just a security desk at the entrance of your building, that's of the block of flats. So anybody that must pass through that desk must be identified and then will be escorted to the right apartment. So if I'm coming to visit Gaius, the people at the desk will ask me, okay, what is your name? Who are you here to visit? My identity must be identified because they have to reach out to Gaius and take me to his apartment, right? So nobody can just enter directly from the street. Nobody can just enter the building and go straight to any house they want. So looking at this scenario, this is exactly what Azure Bastion is. So it works exactly like the security desk. So instead of anybody to access your VM, they'll have to go through the right process. They'll have to go through Azure Bastion, which I said earlier that Azure Bastion is a managed Azure service that allows secure access to our virtual machines. So now this secure access does not need the public IP of your VM, right? Because even in the process of creating an Azure Bastion, a public IP is created. But the Bastion has its own public IP. But you see it while I go into creating it. So what are the requirements for creating this Azure Bastion? So to create an Azure Bastion, you must have a resource, that's your virtual machine, and you must have a virtual network, which is very, very important. Also, to create an Azure Bastion, you should have a subnet, and this subnet should have the name Azure Bastion subnets, which you'll be seeing, and it should be a /26 subnet or larger. It should not be lesser like /27. If you do a /27 subnet for it, it won't work, or /28. So let me jump right into creating. Although we already have a virtual network, rather we already have a virtual machine. So I'll be using this one for the test. Okay, so let me start it.
Sorry, you were talking about the numbers. I think what you meant is it should be from /26 upward. You can use 27, you 28, you can use 29. The reason,
okay,
the more.
So the more the IP number, that's /27, the lesser the IP address, right? If it's /27, it has lesser IP addresses. So anything /27 is lesser. So it won't recognize it as the Bastion subnet. But you can use /24 for it. You can use /25, you can use /26. The least you can use for the subnets, the Azure Bastion subnet specifically, is /26 or anything higher. When I said higher, I mean anything that has more IP addresses. I don't know if you understand. So if you're using /27, /28, the higher it goes, the lesser the IP address. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yeah, so, okay, so the virtual machine is running. So to connect to the Bastion, you can see here, we have been going through this place, if you remember, to connect using RDP, to connect also using SSH. So, but now there's another option here, which says connect via Bastion. So since we do not have an Azure Bastion, you won't see any option for you to be able to remote into this VM using it. Okay. So since Azure Bastion protects your virtual machines by secure and seamless RDP and SSH connectivity without the need to expose them through public IP addresses. Deploying will automatically create a Bastion host on a subnet in your virtual network. Okay, so since we do not have Bastion, so we can see here to deploy Bastion, we can see configure manually. So we'll be going for this configure manually, because if you go for this deploy Bastion, Microsoft will automatically deploy Bastion for you. But so you won't have like the options of like configuring it manually. So we'll be clicking here. Although aside going through this site, we can just come here, like I searched for earlier. You can just come here and type. So we could also create from here. We could create from here. We could create from here. So just it depends. So impute your subscription, the resource we want to use. So we'll still be using this RGVNet test. Then impute the name you want. So just in case you raise your hand, please just speak up. Thank you. Okay, so we're using East US. Then the availability zone, we know that this availability zone is for redundancy, right? So I might not be selecting any of them to reduce costs. And mind you, this Bastion that we're about to deploy, it's very pricey, right? So the Azure Bastion pricing, it depends on the region and the SKU you deploy. So now we have different tier, which is we have the basic, we have the standard, we have the developer, we have the premium. So each of them comes with their pricing. But generally, Azure Bastion is quite expensive. But security generally in the cloud, anything security, anything protection is very is costly generally. Okay, so availability zone won't be going for anyone, but in a production environment, it's good you select an availability zone. Okay, so for this, we can go for the basic tier. But going for the basic tier, it does not give us a lot of features that we want to use for this standard. So instead of going for basic, we'll just go for standard. Although if you go for basic, there's a way we can upgrade it. You can still upgrade it after creation. So let's just go for basic so we can see how to upgrade after creation. Then this instance count, it means how many concurrent connection we can have at the same time. So how many VMs can you be connecting at the same time? So for the basic, you just have this. You don't really have much, you cannot really connect a lot of virtual machines to this Bastion. But for the standard, you have at least 50, same with the premium. Okay. So it's up to 50 for the premium, same for the standard. Is up to 50. So I just want us to see where I'm going for the basic is I want us to see how we can upgrade it to standard. So now for the virtual network, we can see the virtual network, we are using the same virtual network we used for our VM, our virtual machine. So I want us to confirm that it's the same virtual network. We used South African nodes, but here picked East US. Okay. Mind you, both the Bastion should always be in the same region as the virtual machine or the virtual network. So that means it automatically created an Azure Bastion for itself. I wanted to show you an error that will come up here. If it didn't create this Azure Bastion subnet automatically, you would have seen an error that will state that thing I mentioned earlier, that the subnet should be /26 or larger than /26. There is more IP addresses. You would have seen it here. So you would have also seen under here, you will see subnet configuration. Then when we click on it, we can now configure this Azure Bastion. They even picked a /26 for it. It has 64 addresses. Okay, so you can see the size /26. Okay, /25 is also accepted. /25 is accepted, /24 is also accepted. There is no /27 here. I'll have selected like /28 or /29, assuming that the option was here. You'll have seen an error. It accepts 26 below, right? But for anything above like /20 with lesser IP. So as you can see here, the lower it becomes, the higher the IP address is, like I explained earlier rather. But if it is /27, it has lesser IP. So the Azure Bastion subnet only accepts 26 below, but it says larger. So you understand, because the larger the IP address is. So I believe you understand that. Okay, let me take it back to /26. Since it automatically created the /26 for itself, it's fine, it's perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead. Then for the Bastion, as I mentioned, Bastion has its own public IP address. So this is the IP address for Bastion. Then the advanced next. So since I selected basic, it does not really give us any opportunity to select some other features that we might need. Okay, so this IP based connection, the only feature that is available for the basic is copy and paste. For the rest, we'll need to go or switch to a standard tier before we can access the rest. So this IP based connection is used to connect maybe for on-premise computer, on-premises IP address, that's your computer on-prem, providing that there's a private network connection, okay, with maybe your site-to-site or your express routes. Then this Kerberos authentication is used if there is a connectivity with your Windows DC, that is a domain controller. Then for your native client support. So this is just saying that Bastion uses tools that you know, like your RDP, your SSH, right, to connect. So it works with standard tools like your remote desktop, your SSH client used to connect to VMs. Okay. Then for the shareable link, so this is very important. As I said, after this creation now, we'll go to upgrade to standard. So you can see how this shareable link works. So this shareable link can make you share. It's just like it's to create a link that you can share to somebody, so the person can actually remote into your VM securely. Then for the session recording is not available for the standard. It's only for the premium. It's only available for premium. So this session recording, it records your session. So for example, now if you give somebody, let's say I give Paul my link, this session recording, if it's available, it can record whatever is going on during the session, whatever you're doing during the session, and it can be replayed maybe later. Okay, so next is tags. Okay, we'll not be needing tag for now since it's a test. Then we review and create. So Bastion takes like 5 minutes to create, or 5 minutes or more for it to be created. So we can just use this few minutes to stretch our legs, or in case we have any question, we can shoot using this time, or we can use it to drink maybe tea, tea in the evening. Okay, do we have any questions so far while we wait for Bastion to create? So we could actually start from the scratch, right? But we just started this way because we already had an existing VM. But we could first of all go create our virtual network, create its subnet, the one we want to use for our new VM we'll be creating. We'll also create the one for the Bastion, which is Azure Bastion subnet. Then we can now go, secondly, create a virtual machine, give it the subnet we created for it. Once it starts, we can now go and start creating Bastion. So you can also do it that way. But we started this way because we had an existing virtual machine. Okay, let's check. It's good. We're encountering errors. We're going to the VNets that we are using. Let's see if when we check the subnet, we'll be saying, okay, I think let's create a subnet for it. So when we come here, there's already a drop down for it, Azure Bastion subnet. And don't change the name. The name should be this. Anyway, you can't even change it. It must be Azure Bastion subnet. Okay, it's /26. Let me see if I can make it higher. Okay, no. /26. Because this is the VNet we are using. Okay. I'll take it to present for now. Okay, so since it has picked the one we created, I suppose the one we created earlier. Okay, this is the public IP. Okay, I believe it's creating now. So the issue was, so I was supposed to create a subnet for it, so that when you go to that VNet, you can see the subnet created. So that's what I did, and it picked it up immediately instead of creating like a new subnet. So let's just wait for it. It creates successfully, so we can test the connection. Okay, please, do we have any question?
So in essence now, a virtual, sorry, what is it called? The subnet, the Bastion subnet is essential for the creation of the
Exactly.
Bastion.
Exactly. Very, very essential.
Following Schwarz is
Very.
answer.
Okay. All right, please
Okay.
speak.
Thank you, ma, for this, and thank you, Mr. Paul. So my question is this: when you were mentioning about the IP address and the subnet, which we said
Okay.
the minimum of the /26 as the
Okay.
subnet. So my question is this: is the Bastion subnet, is it that, does it require a very, very, very large number of IP addresses for it to function effectively? Because based on what you just used now, I can see that we already have one VM in which the VNet was actually, the subnet was attached to. So I was thinking that it would be, the subnet to be deployed to be based on the number of VMs that we intend to use it for. So that's my first question. The second
Okay.
question, okay, so should I hold on before, maybe I should hold on?
Okay, can shoot the second.
Okay, so the second question is, if we're having a Bastion, connective and Bastion, so, and based on what you said, that is more secured. So
Okay.
why do I still need to go? Though I understand the price, maybe it's the price that is putting people off from choosing it, maybe every time they use it. So, but I was just thinking that if the Bastion is kind of the safest, just as you have been told this evening, why should I still make use of the other ones? Though I know they are secured, I know they have their keys, just like Mr. Paul gave us in the last time we met, showed us the keys, especially if you want to do your SSH and then the RDP. So why do I still need to use those ones if the Bastion is much more? Why is it not made the primary? I don't know. That's just what came to my
Okay.
mind. Thank you.
Okay. So for the first one that you asked, why does Bastion need 26, which gives more IP addresses? Why not maybe 29 or 30/30, right? Okay, so Bastion, the way Bastion operates, it does not operate like maybe it's not like a normal VM, right? That might not require a lot of IP addresses. So behind the scenes, Azure uses like multiple instances and components to make Bastion work reliably rather and securely. So now, for example, I mentioned something like shareable links, where you have to like you can share your links to somebody, maybe a third party, to access your VM, right? So doing this, it means you're also accessing the VM and the person is also accessing the VM. So all these instances, it could use like an IP, and maybe that IP is disconnected, it picks another IP. So it needs like a lot of IPs, more IPs. That's why it says /26 below. /26 below, that's /25, /24, because of how it runs or how it works behind the scenes. I don't know if you understand. I carry out its functions and capabilities. Then I don't know if that answers your question, or I don't know.
Yes, I
But
understand it.
just know that Azure Bastion, just know that there's one thing about Azure Bastion, it runs like multiple instances, so that if one fails, access is not lost. Do you understand? So it just keeps running just to make sure that you are up and running. So if one fails, it quickly picks up another IP. Like, do you understand? Gives it to you because it has its own IP that it uses to run. Do you get? Then for your second question, that why is it that since Bastion is this secure, why is it not the first option? Okay, so there's something that came to my mind when you were asking. We have other ways we can secure our VM, right? There's a site-to-site connection. There's a even RDP. Most organizations they use some organizations use RDP, right? But the only thing they just do is some of them remote into it, like they remote into it using their private IP, maybe using other VPN, right? They just remove their public IP from their virtual machines. So it depends. It depends on what you want. If you say that, okay, Azure Bastion suits your company, why not? And you can afford it because it charges hourly and you can afford the price. Why not? You can go for it, right? But if you see that, okay, it's not something that you want to, you look for other ways that also secure. But Azure Bastion is very secure. And if you know that you can afford it, you can also, that's why it's on the table for you, right? That's why it's also there. Just the way some people now, to wear clothes, we all wear clothes to cover our body, right? For some people who want to go to boutique, all these boutiques to select their clothes. They love expensive clothes. Why some people go to bend down select to select their clothes? Please answer me. Shebi, all those clothes, what did they
Yes,
do
I get.
last? They cover your body. So
Yes.
that's just it. So it's there for you on the table. If you can afford it, why not? If you select it, and if you can't, there are other ways to secure your VM access. Okay. Did I answer your question?
Yes. Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So now the Bastion has been deployed, and as you can see here, so it took 7 minutes 53 seconds to deploy. All right then. So this is our Azure Bastion, which has been created. So I believe we have run through all this. I believe you all know what activity log, access control IAM, tags, solve problems. So we'll just jump right into the settings. So here we have the sessions. For now, we won't have any session because we haven't made use of the Bastion. So no results. So configuration. So in this configuration, this is where you can increase the tier, but you can't actually downgrade it. So let's say you choose premium, you'll not be able to go to basic. You only can upgrade from basic to standard to premium to developer, any one of your choice. So now we'll be upgrading it to standard. So this is the reason I chose basic. So the basic tier enables dedicated RDP SSH connectivity to multiple virtual machines in local or paired VNets with support for NSGs. That's your network security groups. Then the standard tier enables additional features, expanded connectivity options, and host scaling for heavier workloads. So this basic, you can use it for maybe for very small organizations that what you just want to do is connectivity, right, to your virtual machines. So now you can see that after clicking on standard, other features, before we only had copy and paste feature enabled, while others were grayed out. But now after selecting standard, we see that we can select all of these. Then for this session recording, as I mentioned earlier, it's only available for the premium tier, right? So let's just select the native client support, the IP-based connection, shareable link, so that we'll be able to see how the shareable link works. Okay, so after this, we'll just click on apply. Okay, hope we're stretching our legs, so while we wait for this. Okay, so it has successfully updated. So I'm going to the shareable links. Bastion shareable links enables users to connect to a VM using Bastion without accessing the Azure portal. So we'll click on add. Okay, so this is our resource group. So which resource do we want to connect to? So this is the VM that we want to connect to. All of these apply. So we just need the resource group, the correct resource group. And don't forget, I mentioned that it should be in the same region. Like now you can see that everything is in South African notes. So we have to wait for that thing. Okay, you can just click on it for it to show active, because if it's still showing that check-in status, you will not be able, if you use this link, you won't be able to access the VM, right? So all we just need to do is copy the link, go to our browser. Okay, so this is a Windows virtual machine. You can also connect to a Linux virtual machine. Okay, so put in my username and my password, which I hope I still remember. Is it? This is it. I don't think I'm putting the right password. It's supposed to just take me straight to my VM. That's how it works. Straight up. Let me check the password. Maybe I need to reset the password so that it don't throw an error again. Okay, see, I was typing Olive for the username. Meanwhile, this is the username. Let me just reset the password. Okay, I'm trying to reset my password. Okay, so let's try it again. Hopefully this time it works. Let me see the username again. Test VM. Okay, so you can see our VM is up and running. So whatever you want to do, you can just do it here. It's just like your normal VM, but it was open securely on your web browser. Okay, so aside connecting here, I'll connect from the VM. Okay, so we'll click here, connect via Bastion, RGP, test VM. Okay, it says a pop-up blocker. So for you to be able to access it from this side or from this area, you have to enable pop-ups. So from this area, a pop-up blocker is preventing new window from opening. Please allow pop-ups and retry. Okay, so we need to go to settings. So we have to allow. Okay, so this is our VM accessed via Bastion. We can also do this for a Linux VM. We can go and practice this. Also practice how to um, access your Linux virtual machines via Bastion. You can also do that, but you need your key. And if you chose maybe when deploying the VM, you're using password, fine, you can just input your password. But if you're using a key, there'll be a path for you to upload your private key, right? So I'll be asking us in our next class if we actually did it and what was your experience like. Okay, so that will be all from me to you. The main reason for Azure Bastion, right? It removes the need for public IP addresses, right? And it does not expose, even if you're saying RGP, maybe she's 3389 or SSH22, that's 22, it does not like expose it to the internet for everyone. Do we have any questions or any addition? In the absence of none, thank you very much for your time here. Thank you for your questions, your contributions. We're actually here because of you all. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.